Hi, I'm Brianna Brinton, and this is my response to the excerpt from Robert Bork's Neutral Principles and some First Amendment problems. First off, Bork starts with explaining why neutral principles are important. Neutral principles are rules grounded in law versus rules based on personal interests or beliefs. And then he moves on to First Amendment problems. First off being no consistent theory for interpreting constitutional guarantees, such as the First Amendment. There are two main ways of interpreting the Constitution. One is originalism, which Robert Bork supports, and the other is absolutism, which is more up Justice Black's alley. Bork thinks that only explicit political speech is protected by the First Amendment. This would be any communication pertaining to how we are governed. And he thinks that other speech and communication can be censored, but he thinks that it would really only be censored to prohibit obscenities such as pornography. I personally think that it could lead to much more censorship, which leads me to my personal response. I do think that it's a good idea to have regulations, considering the fact that we already have a lot of regulations, such as TV channels. There's certain programs that can only air at certain times. Another is not infringing upon others' rights or freedoms, which is also connected to appropriate times and places, because we have to keep others' rights in mind when we are speaking or communicating in any sort. I also like the idea of neutral principles because I think they would be a lot better at creating consistent and stable interpretations of the Constitution, instead of being subject to whoever is the judge or judges at that time and their personal interests. As far as what I disagree with is government censorship over non-political communication. Well, I think some regulations for pure decency are good. I don't think that outright ability to censor what we write or what we read or talk about publicly, I don't think that that is a good thing. I would agree with Emerson in this, that the violent or criminal acts should be punished, and speech inciting those acts should be punished, as well as like libelous speech. But this reminds me of Father Coughlin and all the incidents we read about him with exhorting the violence that his followers carried out, and all the criminal acts that they did. As far as ethical tensions, the only tension that really jumps out at me is whether there should be completely unregulated non-political speech, or whether it should only be completely unregulated political speech. And to me, one of the questions that comes up is who has the ability or the right to decide what is a good or bad influence on our society, as far as, let's say, novels, for instance. To Kill a Mockingbird was one of my favorite novels in school, and that used to be on, that used to be a banned book. And I just think that it should not have been banned. As far as a modern link, you guys might have heard of the protesters that took over a ceremony that was awarding World War II veteran Dario Roscio multiple awards from that war. They interrupted the entire proceedings and ceremony and showed no respect for the award ceremonies or other people's concerns that they were bringing to the town meeting that was to occur afterwards. There were other people waiting to discuss their concerns, and they disregarded them, completely dominated the time, did not respect anyone there in charge. I don't think it was wrong for them to protest. I think that the time and place they chose to protest was extremely inconsiderate to everyone there and was not respectful. So one of my questions is, who or what decides what, when, and where it is appropriate to utilize our freedom of speech? Is it our society? Is it judges? Is it just our common sense of decency? Or are there regulations? Which there are, but should there be regulations? And a clarification I had was, is there a point at which a non-political publication or communication could influence and persuade enough people, and in such a way that it could actually influence politics and become political speech? So that's my response, and this was kind of a little bit confusing and hard for me to really wrap my head around, but I hope I didn't get too far off the tracks. Thanks.